What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoops back with you. 6 days away from the NBA season now, and this thing has got to start because I've watched just a little bit of preseason ball, and I'm ready to crown the Celtics champion. So I need to be checked with this preseason ball.
Yeah, you Celtics fans need to be hosed down right now, I think.
Dude, I know. This is me admitting it on air.
I'm glad that you are. This is a great Dunny, if you're nothing but a man of honor and integrity, and come out and be like, listen, us Celtics fans, we're wilding out, but we are happy about it. And that's what sports is all about.
Yeah, man. I was just too engaged last night. Mazzulla said before the game that he was going to let the main guys, play some regular minutes. They played regular minutes up until the fourth quarter. And yeah, that was enough to just get me so excited. If any doubts that I had about Robin Smart leaving are almost all the way gone now, just from seeing preseason, which is scary. I'm sure the first couple regular seasons will change that, but yeah, it's an awesome time, man. 6 days away. LeBron James days away. I mean, I'm sure you guys are just as excited as me, and probably are sick of all the Celtics coverage at this point. But 6 days away, how we feeling, fellas?
Well, you know me. I'm never sick of the Celtics coverage. Stevie Boston's in full effect. I mean, you see people want to become Derek White. We saw came out because Derek White's playing perfect kind of basketball. D'Lo's like, I want to be Derek White. But, there's a guy that we're going to talk about a lot this year, Dunny. We're going to talk about him a lot this year. But I don't think I've ever seen a preseason game quite like what Victor Wembanyama did. No. Oh, my. If we want to talk about the hype was kind of blown out of proportion, what have you, I don't care. I want to blow it up more. Make this hype even more, because what he did, if he can play like that in the regular season, he's unstoppable. He's unstoppable. He can handle the ball. Just the turnaround jumper he was making, just his reach alone. I mean, his reach alone, offensively and defensively, is outrageous. It just got me to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to watch the Spurs. And we're 6 days away from the NBA season, and I'm thinking I can't wait to watch one of the worst teams in the NBA last year now. The hype is real, because there's so many exciting teams this year. I think we've talked about it last week. We have a big four, right? The 2 teams from the East, 2 teams from the West, Nuggets, Suns, Celtics, Bucks. But honestly, after those 4, you're looking at the remaining 26 teams. Is it crazy to say like 24 of them are interesting? Like there's 24 teams that are interesting coming into this year. And I said it last year. I thought it was like the most talented, NBA we've really ever had. This year, I think it's the most interesting, because there's so many young up and coming teams. There's so many teams that maybe are like on their last couple of years of the championship window. And then there's teams with superstars, players we love, that we're like, this might be where they blow it all up, fall off. So I can't wait. The hype is so real. After seeing some of these preseason games, the hype is out of control now. We're going to have basketball back in less than a week, boys. Less than a week.
Somehow the official Trainwreck non-picture thing got changed to the Sabres scoreboard falling. I don't know why. That was for me. It was set for Dunny. Not sure who did that or what. Yeah, look at that. It's just the crash scoreboard. But that's a great look. It's what a wild. Could you imagine like scoreboard crashing nowadays? That'd be insane. Basketball court. I don't think it's ever happened in basketball court. Pretty sure
it'd be pretty dangerous in basketball.
Yeah, it would not be a good thing.
Dangerous anywhere. They're lucky that shit was 10 a.m. no one out there. But I'm so tight. I hate preseason anything, and I love seeing all the basketball and the highlights and everything. But it's just making me like more antsy to see these games. But Wembanyama, Chet, Holmgren, and just the Oklahoma City Thunder, who we're going to talk about a lot. Seeing that Celtics lineup card, just seeing it like as the starting lineup was very jarring, and I'm sure very exciting for you to see, Dunny. But seeing that like the highlights the other night of the Suns, the way that they looked, just making everything, it looked automatic for them. Look to the ice. It is, but it's the biggest test of gravity. Shout out Steph Curry that we've ever seen, because the iso ball is a lot easier when guys can't help off of anybody else too, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's like ultimate pickup basketball. It looks like the Suns, but they have like the 3 best guys you would want to do it. I'm just interested to see this. Like you said, all these teams are pretty interesting except 2 of the teams, and 2 of the teams they're probably talking about tonight are probably the least interesting teams in the league.
Yep.
At least
they're in the same division.
They're in the same division. And that's why it worked out perfectly that we're doing both the Northwest and the Southeast divisions tonight. And also our 2 NBA finalists, the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat in these divisions. So absolutely giving them, saving the best for last. But yeah, I'm very, very excited for the season to start because, like you said, the League Pass, that is something I'm working on is my League Pass rankings to send for you guys where I'm going to be leaning towards. But I think the Spurs, the Celtics, the Thunder, a lot of these teams that are going to be great, exciting League Pass every single night. You're going to have a fun time.
What?
Pacers. Yeah.
This
is gonna be the Pacers. I'm gonna be so mad when the Pacers are good again. Like I love Halliburton, but I'm just preparing myself for all my Pacers hate that is built up through my life because there's a lot of it. Think of think of how big when they're my Miami days, the Pacers. I had to worry about them. Even the Cavs, that 7-game series a couple years ago with Bron, that was a ridiculous.
Well, that's the thing, Micah. Like these guys that are likable right now for you, right? Ben Mather and Tyrese Halliburton. And they start winning some big games over the Cavs, no longer likable.
Yeah, I don't want to talk. Yeah, exactly. Things can change in a second.
Things can change quickly.
Also, don't know if I like the Cavs. That's my biggest subplot yet. How long will it take for me to turn on the Cavs this year? But Dunny, we got stuff to get into first, so.
We got some news and notes before we get into the Northwest Division and the Southeast Division. 2 guys who famously been in the news all offseason. We're going to spend a little more time on Ja Morant than James Harden, but we're going to talk about both of them, unfortunately, because Harden has been the way we've started the show the last 2 or 3 shows. This is the 3rd, I think. So we'll start with Ja today. Just a little Ja Morant check-in. Most basketball fans know Ja Morant is suspended for the first 25 games of the Grizzlies season. He has, they brought in Derrick Rose, who obviously isn't much of a needle mover, but then they got involved in the Marcus Smart trade. So they brought in 2 guards, and more, I guess, negative stuff just keeps coming out. And Jake, what your findings were that, I mean, you were the one who was kind of telling us about it earlier, or at least me. I don't know, Steve. I don't know if you had time to dive into the article, but it's basically Ja's surroundings that started to cause the off-court issues.
Yeah, there was nothing really surprising about. Like, it's all stuff that people kind of speculated that he's just had poor habits start from off the court. But the thing is that coming out of college, there were none of these concerns about Ja. So it's the environment that he's been put in since coming into the league. It's the big picture story is it's part Memphis enabling a young kid and allowing a superstar. It's part himself putting himself in continuous situations, and a lot of the theme of the article was about alcohol and about the way that there was multiple reports of Ja landing with the team plane in a city, him flying his family and friends out, including the people that he was with in the Instagram video, the people that he was with at the instance where he got into a fight with a 17-year-old at his own property, like people that he's been with the whole time. And they would go out, leave the hotel, he'd show up. I mean, sources claiming he's hungover, at least he seemed like dragging or whatever. Now it's definitely a Ja Morant hit piece. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like there's no Ja defense in this at all. This is all like gathered team sourcing and Memphis Grizzlies sourcing and everything. So it's not going to be like they're throwing Ja under the bus a little bit, but they're also putting a lot of blame on the people around him too. Right. I would say a lot more blame on the people around him. While they don't say flattering things about Ja in the article, it puts a lot of blame on his dad, even like saying that he is living the NBA superstar lifestyle. Bomani Jones chimed in on that and said, you know, he's not the only NBA father out there enjoying the NBA superstar lifestyle. So let's not completely vilify T for doing what so many men have done in their life, but it's not helping. It's that's the main thing with the Ja story is it's not one thing with Ja right now. It's not like one instance. He's had multiple instances, but it's just the pattern and the surroundings and everything else. And how do you remove yourself from a situation where if your dad is a bad influence on you or your brothers or things like that? Like he's just dealing with the pressures of being a young superstar in the league, and it doesn't seem like the Grizzlies or the people around him have offered the right support. And I think the only reason it's such an important conversation for me is because Ja should be the number one person we're talking about on this rankings. Like he should be the MVP. He should be talking about Memphis as one of those 4 teams. Like that's the trajectory they were on a couple years ago, were they not?
Yeah.
So that's like the biggest story for me is that Ja is like one of the great young talents in the league, and we need to get him support and get him back on track because like he's too special of a talent to waste that. And that's the biggest thing I think. So I hope that this piece puts more pressure on Memphis, if anything else, like figure it out and make sure when he comes back, it's into a better environment than they offered before. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation for Memphis and Ja, man. It is so crazy that when you put that all into perspective, like how quickly, and for good reason, like we were ready to crown Ja and say that the Grizzlies were a contender for all the right reasons. We weren't. I don't think the hype was ever out of control with Ja. It was just that he made these right. Yeah, he was. People were talking about when. And this was a few years ago, so some people have kind of already taken that spot. But like when KD and LeBron were like clearly starting to get washed up, and before really anyone was kind of talking about Luka in that same vein, like everyone, that's how people were talking about Ja Morant. Like he was the future of the league, still very well could be.
Yeah.
If he leaves all this behind, but it's going to be kind of one of those final straw things, not to say that, if he messes up again, he's never going to play basketball again, but final straw in that he could revive where he once was and how people perceives him. And, not just fans or people who watch basketball, but also within his own organization. I mean, them bringing in Smart says a couple of things to me. That one, it's, maybe someone to help him out and kind of grow as a veteran and a leader. 2, to be in his position while he's suspended, and then 3, potentially a backup plan if Ja isn't able to work this out at all.
Yeah.
So, you hope for the best for Ja, and it is almost disheartening when, some of that stuff's brought to your attention with, his family, instead of helping him, almost enabling him in certain situations. But yeah, I mean, I think as a podcast, we all hope for the best with Ja, but 25 games is a lot. Hopefully it's enough to kind of reflect on some of this stuff, and then it comes to a halt once he gets back.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm hoping having Smart there will help Ja, kind of guide him in the right direction. Because the biggest thing for me is like you got to surround yourself around the right people, right? You're not ever going to change anything. You're not going to change your habits if you surround yourself in the same situation over and over and over again. So I think the Grizzlies, by getting Smart, switched it up a little bit, and seeing this article, it's like it's tough when maybe the wrong people you're surrounding yourself are people who might have been your friends or family members around you. That makes it so much harder. So it's something that Ja's going to have to figure out himself. But you're right. Like the hype on this guy was to the point where we said he was probably better than Zion at one point, where Zion had all the hype and it felt like Ja was the silver medal of this class, and Ja's play. It wasn't anything else. It was Ja's play that really made people go, wow, you know what? This might be a 1A, 1B type situation. And then Zion had his own issues, and everyone's like, wow, Ja might be the guy from this class. This might be the next superstar we're watching before our eyes. And I think it's, he has the hard part figured out. He's got the basketball figured out. He's got the skills. That's the hard part. Now he's just got to put himself in the right situations and just hopefully, he can stay true to who he is. And I also think Ja's a competitor, guys. And I also think they brought us Marcus Smart here, not only to help Ja, but to kind of compete, to be like, hey, you know what? We have another guy. We have another guy who's a capable starting point guard. He may not be the type of player you are, but you better You better, focus up and be ready to lead this team because Marcus Smart is a dog. And we all know that. Dunny knows that as much as anyone, where he's all for the competition.
If there's anyone who thinks it's going to be Marcus Smart time, it's Marcus Smart.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so, we hope the best for Ja. I think, I don't think any of us think that Memphis won't be in the picture in the Western Conference. We don't think that, they're the upper echelons as we did a couple of years ago at the top of the West. But, they'll be in the fighting. They'll be fighting for a playoff spot. They'll be probably giving a team a hard time once they do ultimately make the playoffs. And you just hope that Ja's there in the right headspace when they do so. You guys good on Ja there?
I'm good.
Now we can talk about someone who's not in the right headspace whatsoever. James Harden.
I didn't know where you were going with that, honestly. No, definitely not.
James Harden is out of his damn mind. He, as Shams put it lightly, it was a no-show at Sixers practice today. Everyone thinks, because I believe it was reported he was in Houston while Sixers practice was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's that.
Embiid's quote was hilarious just after. He's like, well, he wasn't here, so apparently
maybe he had something to do.
Yeah, maybe he had something to do.
Honestly, I love that Joel can still at least have good spirits about it because some part of him has to be so pissed off that he has to answer these questions. Embiid shouldn't have to be answering where James is. He's like, I don't know, man. I just fucking practiced for 3 hours.
Embiid's I'm the one who shows up. I'm the star who cares about this guy. He doesn't care. I'm so done with James Harden. I'm so sick and tired of James Harden. I don't even care. Hold out for another. Just retire, bro. Just retire at this point. I don't even care anymore. You keep, I want to get traded, then you complain. It's the same cycle over and over and over and over.
Push comes to shove. Is he a Clipper by next week, and we could just let him go rest in obscurity over there with Russell Westbrook, which would just be hilarious.
I don't know. I keep hearing they're not close to getting a deal done, but I wouldn't be surprised.
But the Clippers, the thing about the Clippers are just sitting there waiting at this point. They're he's flaming his way out. They're gonna have to. I guess they didn't want to give up Terrence Mann. That's who we're barking over at this point. Yeah. And I get it, but
we can't
that's what we're talking about. It's a former MVP like Terrence Mann. I don't know. So what
Terrence
are we doing
Mann's
here?
Too much, bro. Yeah.
And let's not get it twisted. Terrence Mann's a good player. This isn't to shit on Terrence Mann. But for the Clippers not willing to give up a role player for a guy in James Harden who's a MVP of this league, multiple time scoring champ, it is kind of crazy when you think of it like that.
They have all the chips in this scenario. And if Morey really wants to go into this season, because I feel like he has the balls to go into the season with Harden just sitting at home doing nothing.
I think so.
And I just feel like that's
I think he will.
Do you think he wants to force Joel Embiid out then? Because why is he putting Joel through this? Is Morey's ultimate plan to just blow it all the way up and this is his way to do it? Because I don't see any other we were just talking about, why would Joel he has to put up with this again? When has this man ever had a normal NBA season? The Sixers have come into every season with just chaos every year.
Sucks for Embiid, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just not good. And the Clippers being tied into this, it kind of seems like when you just spam your friend shitty trades in fantasy football and just do it over and over again until they accept one of them. I feel like that's what the Clippers are doing with the Sixers, trying to get they're we don't actually want Harden, but we'll send you shit trades until he annoys you enough.
They're the Pawn Stars meme right now.
Yeah.
James Harden, best I could do is 2 second-round picks, guys.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
Best we can do is Zubac. Get back to us. Yeah, so I mean that can be it for our James Harden talk. It felt like we just had to report, maybe the last couple of weeks were more non-news than this, but this is just crazy, man. He was intensely warming up for the preseason games last week. Now this week he's not at practice.
Like, are we surprised though, Donnie? I'm not surprised.
No.
Exactly.
I'm a little surprised that he was in a different state.
Fair enough.
But I'm not surprised they didn't show up at practice. I'm surprised that he was halfway across the country not at practice.
Fair.
But yeah, that's James, man. We'll see where he ends up. It would kind of be awesome if he ended up in Memphis too, and we just we were handling two shit shows at once. But no, James Harden not at Philly practice. I'm sticking to what I said. I don't think he'll play a game as a Sixer, and I think Morey is a crazy enough dude to just have him either sit in the arena and not play, or at home, like you guys said, and just don't even show up to the facility. You can pay fines from the comfort of your couch or your couch in Houston.
At least the Eagles are good. The Phillies are about to go to the World Series.
Yeah.
A couple games away. Don't watch this. You don't got to worry about the Sixers yet.
You don't.
That's my advice for Philly fans.
It's crazy, man. So yeah, good luck to Sixers. Hopefully Joel Embiid isn't too shaken up by this, but we'll see. 6 days and we get to see the drama unfold. Some lighthearted news: NBA could go back to East versus West All-Stars, and
do it.
I'm all for it.
I need this, man.
Yeah,
the All-Star game has been shit, and I've been quietly saying that, or maybe not at all, or maybe not enough, but it's been a bad product. And I think it was exciting when they first switched away from the East-West, but I think we haven't seen it long enough where it's like, just go back to it. We don't need other than Dame and Giannis kind of recruiting each other and becoming teammates out of it. We haven't got much good out of the whole draft.
I don't know if that's good either. I don't know if it's good that
borderline
Giannis
tampering
Dame over all these over Jokic and all these other guys in this draft.
Yeah,
you know what? Maybe you guys should be on the opposite conferences next year.
Yeah, it's good for the Bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
But dude, the East-West was just so great, and
it's just for the vibes, the jerseys, everything. I feel like it's just we need like you said, the time away from it has brought it back. And they also did it at a time when the West would have just killed the East, and it was just LeBron and 5 Hawks and 2 Celtics, and that was the conference team. So it was a long period where the East was getting destroyed.
We got a little bit of
now
a rivalry.
It's not that way anymore.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of a rivalry now.
Why is the East running from the grind? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What are they doing out there? So yeah, I'm with this completely.
Yeah. I think we need it, man. And this is more of an old head complaint, but it will bring back a little bit more of the I'm not friends with you unless you're on my team aspect. There'll be less buddy stuff, which some people like, some people don't like that about the NBA. I'm pretty indifferent. I don't like it in the playoffs, but whatever. A lot of these guys are friends. They train with each other. That's that's just the reality of the situation. But it should bring back a little more fight in the All-Star game, and I think we're all here for that. I also would love for them to go back to everyone wears their team jersey, but there's just the West wears the away, so it's all the colors, and then East is home, so it's all the whites or whatever. I think they should bring that back too. That was awesome. And then the last piece of news, little trade happened yesterday. I think we touched on him when we talked about the Rockets team, but Kevin Porter Jr. finally traded off the Rockets and then immediately dropped, waived, cut, whatever you want to call it, from the Thunder. This was basically just the Thunder getting more draft picks and send away some of their older players. They figured, bringing in Kevin Porter Jr. and paying off the remainder of his salary was worth them getting two more second-round picks. So that's what they got. And then Oladipo, interesting, going to the Rockets. The Rockets are just keep adding. It's never a bad addition. I feel like they haven't had a quote-unquote bad addition this offseason, but it's just all been weird. They brought in Jeff Green. They brought in Dylan Brooks. And now they're bringing Oladipo in. And then, it's just this crazy combination of young talent on top of those guys.
Fred VanVleet, too.
Yeah.
Brought him in, too.
So it's I haven't hated any of the moves they made, but I'm every move they make, I'm more intrigued to see what this Rockets team look like, especially being coached by Ime Udoka, who we haven't seen since he brought a team to the finals in his first year of coaching. So,
yeah, Rockets are probably one of the most interesting teams. I can't wait to see what they look like. And then the Thunder, I think the Thunder are just trying to see how many picks they can get at this point. Let's see if we can own a draft class is basically the Thunder's challenge at this point.
I think someone in that front office is just trying to piss off Danny Ainge and just trying to best him every time they make a trade. But who knows, man? And that's it for news and notes. Kind of underwhelming trade, but we don't, it's not too often you get trades right before the season starts. So that was kind of fun yesterday. You guys ready to preview the last two divisions?
Oh yeah.
And let's start with the NBA champions of last year, Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Their over-under for win totals is 53.5. What do you guys have for the win total here? Start with Steve, man. Tell us why it's over.
It is over. I mean, it's one of the easier overs, I think. You look at this win total. The Nuggets are not losing less than 54 games if Jokic stays healthy. It's just a fact. And I know we've joked about Jokic. Oh, he doesn't care. He doesn't want to try this year. Jokic is one of the best basketball players, if not the best basketball player in the world when he's on the court, and it does not matter. It looks like Jokic could put 40% effort, and he's still dominating the guys out here. This is a great Nuggets team, and the biggest thing I say when I like to take teams overs is I like to see the same guys kind of come back, the same group come back. Last year, we saw the Nuggets core finally healthy at the same time, and what did that end up with? That ended up with an NBA Finals championship. It's a no-brainer, easy over for me here. I know these are two names that not a lot of people know. Hunter Tyson and Julian Strawther have been dominating for the Nuggets over the summer and in the preseason. These are two guys, young guys, that it used to be classic Nuggets fashion. You could see come off the bench for 20 minutes and just produce. That's just what the Nuggets do. I like their depth. They have one of the most gifted basketball talents in the world in Nikola Jokic, and sky's the limit once again for this team. Easy over.
Yeah, this team is a lock for this over. I think they're the 1 seed easy in the West. I mean, we talked about the Suns' potential a couple weeks ago. Like we said, there's a big 4 here, but I think the Suns are still punching up to the Nuggets. And the thing about this team I'm most excited about is just healthy Jamal Murray all year long. Like really, like as exciting as Jokic is going to be amazing again. But Murray was so awesome again in the playoffs, and to just see him come into a season rolling off of that, who knows? But like Murray could be an all-NBA guy for all we know. Like he could be in that discussion, first team, second team, if the year goes right. Like these two are so dynamic, and just still feels like I was looking at the depth charts as we were getting ready for this, and like that starting 5 is still just terrifying on a night-to-night basis when you look at it. So I'm rolling with the over for this team for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so we're all in agreement here. I have the over. It's just like you said. I think healthy Jamal Murray was the biggest thing going into my thought process on breaking down this squad. They haven't got worse. They lost Bruce Brown. That's about the only hit they took to the roster, and they're good enough everywhere else that they make up for it.
Christian Brown is going to make up for the loss of Bruce Brown. Year 2, Christian Brown is going to be exact type of player they need to fill that role.
Yeah, and I think they might have just signed him to an extension last week too. The Nuggets look good. I got the over. Team MVP. I assume we all have the Joker.
We don't even need to discuss it. Next category.
Yeah. I think we're going to try to go quicker with these teams anyway, just because we have 2 divisions tonight. But the Nuggets are just making it easy off the bat.
Yeah.
Over on the win total. Jokic, team MVP. Most likely to be traded could be interesting. This is a team who you probably won't consider, a team that has to make a trade or will be at a point in the season where they need to make a trade. I think if anyone, it's KCP, just a spot-up shooter that can play defense. I think that's a need for most every team at some point during an NBA season. That was my really only reasoning there. I don't see them needing to make a trade at any point.
Yeah, I'm stealing yours, Jake. I'm going with Reggie Jackson. Just because I think they have a lot of like up and coming young players too. I think Christian Brown can hold that role. And the biggest reason why it's not KCP for me, Dunny, I just think the Nuggets like KCP more. Like KCP just seemed to play in big moments. I don't really think they're going to make a big trade, but if it does, I think Reggie Jackson's, I guess, fair. Maybe Zeke Naji, because we haven't really seen too much of him. He's still kind of young, has potential, and maybe he's odd man out with all these other young players they have coming off their bench. But I'll go Reggie.
Yeah, the only reason I picked Reggie Jackson was because I just like KCP, so I'm not sending him anywhere.
And Nuggets like KCP.
And the KCP trade could happen if there's that's the only trade though that I think would possibly happen is something around the edges there with like a KCP or like a Reggie Jackson or any of these or Naji, like one of these bench guys or guys who's not going to play like a huge role or not one of the big four, but they don't need to do anything. I don't think they're going to do anything during this. Like I was looking at it, I'm like I don't want to trade anybody on the Nuggets. Just roll into this year. Keep this team forever for 10 years, like, and it'll be good. Like they are very well built, and I was surprised at how good I felt about it. Like thinking about among them in the West, like they're just they can stay the same. So don't trade anybody unless they're getting like I don't know. I don't even know who I'd want to add to this roster, Giannis or something.
Yeah, that would be pretty unbelievable if they traded Reggie Jackson for Giannis straight up.
Yeah, straight up. Bucks would do that for sure.
Sounds like a good deal to me.
So best and worst case shouldn't be a surprise. Best, they win another ring. Worst, I seriously think the worst for them is only a second round exit. It's kind of the same thing we talked about last week. Like the West has some teams, man. They have some tough matchups. If the Nuggets have to see someone, slightly above average, or I think we even talked about when we talked about the Suns last week. If they see a motivated Suns team in the second round, who they sent home last year, brand new look Suns team, way more talented, I wouldn't be surprised if they sent the Nuggets home in the second round. So that's my only knock on them. If they go up against a tougher opponent early in the playoffs, we could see an exit.
I'm kind of similar. Best case, I think, win the NBA Finals. I'm going to go worst case, win the NBA Finals, because your superstar center, Nikola Jokic, is not going to want to play for 2.5 extra months. And he's going to be like, you know what? I'm tired of this. It was fine the first time this year. We're blowing it up. We're not going back again. But this is a playoff team that's poised to make a deep run. And our biggest concern last year, right, was the Nuggets' defense in the playoffs. We were like, we've seen this team have put up numbers, dominant at home in the regular season. How's their defense going to be in the playoffs? Guys, they might have had the best defensive team in the NBA playoffs last year. Yeah. And so it's going to be really hard, really hard. A lot's going to have to go wrong for this team not to make a deep playoff run. But like I said, best case, worst case, same deal. Best case, you can win an NBA Finals, but you piss off your superstar who wants to go race his horses. You don't want to be here for doing that. It's a side gig. This is 9 to 5. He doesn't want to work overtime for 2.5 more months again.
No. He wants to scout horses.
He'll do it on the bench. He'll do it in bed. He's gonna do something in the middle of a game. They're gonna be up 50. On some team in the regular season, Jokic's going to be on the bench doing something like so checked out. It's going to go viral.
Well, that's the thing is he's so good at basketball that he has so much room left in his brain that he can just do this. He's like, oh, I'll just here's my triple double. I need to get this done quick, guys. Like
he'll get it done the first half. I'm done.
Horses. Yeah.
It's outrageous, man.
The best case is they're walking to an NBA title. I think that they're going to be in the conference finals because they're going to be the 1 seed. And unless like I just think that that's their worst case scenario. This is a conference finals team. This is a team like the way that they can build, the way with their young pieces and everything else, they could be like Spurs, Warriors-esque, not winning all these titles, but being in all these conference finals like every year, like we saw these teams. I feel like if there's anybody that's going to do it in the Western Conference right now, the Nuggets are set up for it. The Suns are not, and the Lakers are not. Like there's expiration dates on those teams. There's not really one on this Nuggets team. And so I think their worst case is honestly the conference finals for the next couple of years until somebody else proves otherwise. And I don't think any of these teams can right now.
I'm right there with you. The biggest thing with the Nuggets, you look at their bench, and I know it's not a lot of household names, but these are young, good, long, tall players like Julian Strother. I loved him at Gonzaga. This is a 6'7" guard who can play defense, who can shoot. He's Christian Brown. That's exactly what he did last year. Peyton Watson, another one who's playing kind of well in this offseason. He's a guy who might have a role. They just have these guys, and I just think they have too many names that they could just plug in. There's not any holes really on this team right now, which is crazy to say, but it's true.
Yeah, so Happy Hour Hoops declares the Nuggets really, really fucking good.
Yeah.
And we expect to see them either in the conference finals or finals, it sounds like. And yeah, that's that. Hopefully Joker wins himself a second championship and maybe finds a new horse as well along the way. Next, the Timberwolves. Minnesota, boring group, but also could be kind of intriguing for this upcoming year. The over-under on win total is 44.5. I myself am taking the under. I do really like Anthony Edwards. I expect a big step from him. And that's who my team MVP is going to be. Spoiler, I think that's probably another easy one that clears the board. But I just saw so much dysfunction with this group last year. Cat just still hasn't showed us really, we know what he is baseline. He's one of the best shooting bigs in the league. He can give you huge nights. But anytime a guy that talented can also only give you a game with like 7 points and 3 rebounds, and he played the whole time, it's hard to believe in a guy or believe that a guy cares when, you've seen this for how many years now with Cat. And then, you guys know how I feel about Gobert, man. I still think that was one of the worst trades ever.
Yep.
I didn't like what I saw last year from the Timberwolves. I don't think I can hit the over here for 45.5 wins.
I'm right there with you, Donnie. I'm taking the under here. I like this under a lot because there's other teams I really like a lot more than the Timberwolves in the West this year. And Anthony Edwards, exciting. He could probably score 30 a game this year. He's going to make some of those highlight reel plays that's going to just be jaw dropping. Like, how is someone that athletic? But the fact of the matter is I don't think they're a complete team. They have an old point guard. They have a lot of liabilities, and they're not really a deep team. And you talk about Karl Anthony Towns. I used to really like Karl Anthony Towns coming out of Kentucky. I was like, I think this guy's going to be special because he is that type of big who can handle a little bit. He can shoot. Last year, I'm officially done with Karl Anthony Towns. I think he's one of the most inconsistent stars who people think is a superstar when he really is barely a star. He's criminally overrated. We saw the NBA Top 100 Players list come out. Some of the names that they had Karl Anthony Towns over was just disrespectful. And I don't want to bring that up because I got a little too rattled. Whatever, people were ranting about the top 10 of the list. I thought the top 10 fine, whatever. It was the guys from like 50 and below. It's like, how can you put Karl Anthony Towns 30 spots ahead of some of these guys? But the fact of the matter is, I don't think they really have a second star. I think it's Anthony Edwards and a bunch of guys. And Rudy Gobert, he's great defensively, but we've seen what happens when they go to the playoffs. And I don't think Rudy Gobert, I never liked the fit with him and Towns beforehand. I still don't like the fit when they're on the court at the same time. And Karl Anthony Towns, to me, is just one of those guys where I think he's got the name value where people think he's a lot better than he actually is. And I think that's going to hurt this team because I think there's just going to be some nights that they're going to try to force get him involved, and it's going to take it away from your best player, Anthony Edwards. Teams are going to learn soon. We're just going to double Ant-Man at the end of the game and see what the Timberwolves could do. And not for nothing, I love Anthony Edwards. Don't get me wrong, but he's still got a long way to go in terms of maturing on the basketball court. We have seen a lot of times at the end of games where Anthony Edwards can get a little turnover happy, maybe try to do too much. And this is not the team to kind of help him, get better at that really quickly. Maybe this offseason he learned, he comes in, he's just deadly in the fourth quarter. But that's where we've kind of seen Anthony Edwards struggle. And the Timberwolves is not the team for that. I'm taking the under here. I could see a missed playoffs with the Timberwolves. I really could.
Welcome. I don't know if you've been fully there before, Steve, but welcome fully to the Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh yeah, I am 100% in there now, Jake. I was like on the boat. I was on the coast. I was like, do I want to hang out here? Is this somewhere where I want to pitch a tent? Yeah, I built my house.
You walk through the trees a little bit, and then it was just like a big tiki party, and everybody's hyped up, drinks are flowing, and you're like, man,
yeah,
this is great.
I want to like Towns. I want to like Towns. He makes it so hard, bro.
He really he could be one of the most likable guys, and he begs to be unlikable. Everything you guys have said, I'm under too. I feel bad for Ant, that he has to deal with this. I think Towns, the spoiler, Ant's my MVP, but Towns I think has to get traded. Like I feel like it needs to happen.
Who would you think would take on?
Well, did you not see that the New York Knicks are monitoring the Karl-Anthony Towns situation the other day?
Any trade rumors? Can we just pretend the Knicks don't exist?
But
any player that's in the trade rumors, Knicks.
The Knicks thing is that there's been the talk about how they wanted all the Kentucky guys or whatever else, and they've gotten 0 Kentucky guys except Randall. And there's Towns. There's Towns right there. Could you imagine Towns and Randall together?
Well, I was gonna say Randall would probably be out the door if that happened, but I would
love. No, I need them together. That would be hilarious for my personal viewing.
There'd be one playoff game where they like combine for 8 points and 4 rebounds.
Oh yeah, they'd have a regular season game where they'd score like 145, and then the next game they'd go 2 of 32 from the floor with 12 turnovers. It's like, what are you doing? Even in Towns' case, he'd go 1 of 6 from the floor. Like it's like you took 6 shots.
Yeah.
If they got rid of Towns somehow, I do think we know the story of Gobert and what he's going to do, but Gobert and Ant and a bunch of role guys is way more fun of a team than
Naz Reid,
than anything else.
I know Naz Reid, man, he deserves.
He showed something last year.
If Cat does get shipped, man, Naz Reid deserves a shot at some more minutes there. That'd be fun. So we all have Ant as the MVP. I take it. Of this team. No one has a sneaky bid on Gobert here.
Can't say it.
Most likely to be traded. Jake kind of already alluded to. He thinks Towns could be out the door. I think Mike Conley. I just don't think he makes sense.
Save Mike Conley. I'm so happy you put that. Please, someone save Mike. Get him out of there.
I'll mirror you there, Dunny.
Yeah, right? He doesn't deserve to be in this situation. He doesn't do anything for you if you're the Timberwolves.
It's a 36-year-old point guard who doesn't want to be here. What are we doing?
Go send him home to Memphis, honestly. Just throw another point guard in that mix to get Ja, right? But yeah, I assume Conley will go to like a contender at some point this season. That they'll probably want to shed his contract.
Cavs. That's who
or get some picks. That wouldn't be that
Bring
bad.
Him back home.
Yeah. I like that. So potentially the Cavs. We got Connolly and Towns. Well, not Towns to the Cavs, but Connolly.
Oh God,
no. We wouldn't do that, TJ. Even in a mock trade, we wouldn't send Towns to the Cavs.
If somehow that'd be like some twisted universe if I had to watch Donovan Mitchell and Karl-Anthony Towns on the Cavs. After LeBron, like those are 2 guys that I never wanted to defend in my life, and then I'd have to just go that far.
Yeah, so the best and worst case should be interesting from this group, judging off of what we've said so far. My best case is a legit playoff team, and that's just that rests on Anthony Edwards' shoulders. If he's as good as people are hyping him up to be at Team USA practices, and if he's as good as what we saw for the limited action in the games, then I think that it could be a legit playoff team just off his back in general. Forget about Towns, forget about Gobert. If he is that good, they could be a legit playoff team. And then worst case is this team just still can't figure it out. And we're exactly where we were last year with, they're 7 or 8 seed, and then all of a sudden they're disappointing everyone again.
Yeah, I think best case, Anthony Edwards wills them to the playoffs. I don't even know if I'd go lock to play, maybe play in and win the play in to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But Anthony Edwards plays like an MVP, right? We've seen him kind of take a leap year to year. This is the year, 30 plus points per game. We see the consistency in the fourth quarter. Anthony Edwards is playing like a first all NBA team type player. And then worst case to me, this is kind of where I put the Chicago Bulls, if you remember when we talked about the Central, where they missed the playoffs. They're getting older. It just doesn't seem like the pieces are fitting, but they're not bad enough to have one of those top lottery picks where they're just kind of in no man's land. And you're like, the only difference is the Timberwolves have that superstar young guy in Anthony Edwards, where they're like, all right, we can at least find the piece to build around. But it just feels like they're kind of in no man's land, and they're like, what do we do? Regretting the Gobert trade night after night after night. That's kind of where I got it.
Yeah, things don't look great for the T-Wolves next year, at least in my eyes. Jake, what do you think best and worst here?
I guess the best case is they make the playoffs, but like, do we like they could be a 4 seed where things go best, but then they're just gonna get smoked by one of these teams and then have all the same questions again. Worst case, I don't like. The worst case, I guess, is they blow everything up, and Ant is like, "Fuck this! I don't want to be here," and tries to get traded or doesn't want to. Has he signed his extension yet, or is his extension come? Is this their extension year? I can't remember. Question. I should know that. He might have already signed it, but
I don't think he has.
Well, no one's ever not accepted their second contract, but maybe Ant will be the one to do it. Like, I guess that's the worst case scenario. They're not set up well for the future.
Yeah, he's Anthony Edwards agreed to a 5-year contract extension that could reach $260 million.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, he signed, but I don't know. Like, there's part of me that believes he wants out right now. So
we'll see.
We'll see how it plays
out. I think he likes Minnesota.
I think he likes Minnesota. I don't know if he likes the guys around him, and
right, exactly.
I have no idea about coaching, but.
They got it. That's what, like, the only move they have is to trade Towns if it goes poorly. So Towns trade is like the biggest move they make for Anthony Edwards, depending like who it is and the help kind of team they. What would be the best team to put with Ant? I guess, and if you have Ant and Gobert, is it just a ton of shooters, like just everywhere else?
You need a playmaking point guard. You need a really good playmaking point guard. That would be. Because I love Ant, but Ant is not the guy I want running the offense through.
No,
I want Ant, coming off the screen, getting the ball, after they're setting, getting him in open space, getting him the spot shoot. I don't want Ant being like, oh, it's the fourth quarter, I got to run the offense, because that's when we saw the turnovers happen, the bad shots.
Yeah, it's tough.
And someone who's not 36 like Mike Conley, who also likes to shoot sometimes a little too much.
A little too much, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a tough spot for the T-Wolves. I'm not too feeling good about them.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see with Minnesota. Next up, the Oklahoma City Thunder. My adopted second team in the NBA since Kevin and Russell Westbrook have been there, since KD and Westbrook days. Theirs is oddly enough the same win total as the T-Wolves, which I thought was crazy, and I'm going the other way on this one. I'm taking the over for the Thunder, 44.5 wins. I got the over, man. I'm not even the biggest Chet guy, but I know the impact he'll have on this team, and just the season we saw from SGA last year. Expect more, I think, is the motto I'm going in with SGA. Like, I just expect more. Like, I think they were visibly trying to be bad towards the second half of last year. And this is a dude who is still all NBA. They have both the Jalen's. They have Josh Giddey and Lou Dort, who people just forget about because the other exciting talent on this team. I love the over here. How about you guys?
I love it. I love this over so much. Not just the over. I love this team to actually surprise people we're a couple of years ahead of schedule. You guys know how I feel about Chet Holmgren. I don't even talk about him too much last year after the injury, but he was one of my favorite guys. This was Wemby before Wemby coming out of Gonzaga, and people just kind of forget that. And I love Chet because he does a lot of things that Wemby does. And now the spotlight's kind of off Chet, right? You're not even like a lot of pressure on you because of what Shai Gilgeous did last year, how he blew up, where Chet could just kind of play his game. He doesn't have this pressure of, I got to, live up to these expectations, because Wemby has all the expectations in the world right now. And Chet is just another version of Wemby. I love this team so much. Jalen Williams was probably the second best rookie last year after Paolo Banchero. I know it's crazy to say because I love Ben Mathurin, and you have Walker Kessler had a great year too, but Jalen Williams did everything right, everything you needed for this team. And then they got another Jalen Williams, who was a very solid role player too, who was a guy who could play defense, who could shoot the ball. I love this Thunder team. I think Shai Gilgeous is going to play like he did last year. Chet Holmgren, I think, very sneaky, very live to win Rookie of the Year, because technically it is his rookie season, and I think we'll get 4-1 odds. I know Wemby and Scoot are the two big ones, but Chet very live to win it. Dort, like you said, Giddey just gets forgotten. And Giddey's such a good basketball player, and people just forget him. And that's a good thing, because Giddey might be the 4th best player on this team. And if you're telling me right now you have a team that's this young with this many assets in terms of future picks to trade if they want to bring in a couple pieces as the year goes on, and Josh Giddey is your 4th best player after Shai Gilgeous, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams, how do you not take this team to win at least 45 games? I think this is not only an easy over, I think this is a team that would be a doomsday scenario for some of these big dogs in the West to see matched up in the playoffs. I'll tell you right now, if I'm the Denver Nuggets or Phoenix Suns, the Oklahoma City Thunder might be one of the top teams in the West, if not the top team other than those two, that I don't want to see in the playoffs. Because I know this team's young. I know they're inexperienced, but I don't care. I think they're a year ahead of schedule, and I think this is a team that knows they are good. And once again, they're just going to play with each other and get better as the year goes on.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Jake, what do you got to add to that?
No pun intended, but you mentioning the Thunder playing the Nuggets or Suns in a playoff series made me giddy. I was very excited about just thinking that, transporting me to like April right now and seeing these two in a playoff series. Like, that's the thing about this Thunder team. Like, I don't know what the sky is the limit. We've been big fans of SGA on this podcast. It's one of my favorite players in the league, and I completely in complete agreement with you about Chet Holmgren, because I just think he opens up so much for like how good that team was. Like, that team without Chet last year coming into this year still would have been one of the, loved teams coming into the year, fastest rising. Like, this team can make a jump. And then you've seen the impact that he's been able to have on the court. And I know, like I said, like, it's preseason, everything else, but just that's the thing. What's the thing with Wemby too? Like, imagining the possibilities. That's the type of guy. Chet is that type of guy where, like, it could be special right away if things go right. And they're so built around him that he doesn't have a lot of pressure on him. He's kind of just going to be able to flourish and do what he does best. And then you look at the rest of the Western Conference, and like, who has a higher ceiling than them besides, the Suns and the Nuggets? Like, I would take their ceiling over the Lakers if things hit right, because the Lakers are going to they have like a very distinct ceiling with how much LeBron and AD are going to play and everything else. Is there a scenario where they have more wins than the Suns? If Durant doesn't play a bunch of games, if Beal doesn't play a bunch of games, if the Suns win like 50 games.
See, I think the Suns have enough depth. I think the Suns have enough depth that we talked about where
I'll be really interested to see these two teams against each other. The Suns and the Thunder specifically. When those games happen, I want to see, because I feel like the Thunder, like you said, they're going to be a horrible matchup. So yeah, I think this could be a 50-win team. So I'm hitting the over on that.
I'm right there with you.
You guys put something in my head. If we see Suns Thunder in any round of the playoffs, KD returning home.
In the playoff series, baby.
Yeah. That's going to be a scene. That's going to be a scene, man.
Yeah.
We kind of need this matchup now. It's preseason, and we're calling for Suns.
The ultimate semifinals is Nuggets Lakers 1-4 and Suns Thunder 2-3.
Yeah,
that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate 4 there.
We're gonna need that. Most likely to be traded. I said Lou Dort. It's kind of similar to my KCP thing. I think a lot of teams will just look for a guy in Lou. He's a guy who's already under contract, I believe, and I don't think it's that bad. It's kind of a team-friendly deal, so easy to trade. And I think, spot up shooter, can play defense. Teams in the NBA always looking for guys like that. And then I think, you just go through some of the other guys who just seem to be a little more untouchable. So, I don't see any of the other. I like your pick, Jake, as well. I think those are probably the two guys that make the most sense.
Yeah, I had Poku just because if Chet is like healthy and playing well, one of those centers feels expendable, and they can get probably. And it's not going to be Williams, I wouldn't assume. And so I feel like
I think they
Poku makes the most sense, and they could probably get a nice either a couple picks for him, or they're a team that's ripe for like a 2-for-1 trade for another like solid role player with like if they're on a playoff run and want to bring a vet in or something like that later in the season. So yeah, Poku. I don't know. It could be anybody on this, like on that bench, though. I feel like 2-for-1 deal if they really want to. If they're looking good in the beginning of the year and they're like, listen, Chet and SGA, if they just had a third scorer next to him or something, and then they start, I don't know who would be in that market, but there could be a number of guys. What if your guy Pascal came to the Thunder?
Stop it!
If they brought him in there,
stop it right now.
That's a team like that's a trade.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's a guy I'm looking at, like one of those.
I was thinking, what if the Thunder antes up some of those picks and throws it at the guy we were just talking about, Karl Anthony Towns
or Anthony Edwards?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be just gross.
I don't. Yeah.
Give him the championship already.
Yeah. My most likely to be traded. I got two names. I think Oladipo and Jeremiah Robinson Earl. They could probably go to Houston or something. Maybe get a couple picks back. Hopefully get a couple second rounders back. Oladipo and Jeremiah Robinson Earl. I think would be a good move to make for the Thunder. But also, I mean, the other one, I'm gonna go Ousmane Dieng just because lottery pick. Just kind of feels like the odd man out. Still 20 years old, 6'10". This guy's got a lot of length. It's a guy that teams might not want to give up on, right? He's super young and just kind of feels like the odd man out on this team. And they traded a young guy similar with Jeremiah Robinson Earl to Houston. Like that's not a joke. Like he's similar guy, just kind of feels like just maybe didn't fit. And sometimes, just a new location is kind of what you need, just a fresh start. And still young enough where you could get something back. So I'll go DA.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, there's actually looking down the roster. There's a few guys. I mean, they're so young and like have heavy talent at the top. They're in a good position where they can trade just about anyone, and then they also just have that luxury of the picks as well. Like looking at Davis Bertans right now, $17 million contract on the team. They're probably going to want to shed that at some point. So there's a number of guys for the Thunder, but that's who we like. Best and worst case for this team. I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit. We all have high expectations for this group. Best for me, obvious playoff team. Worst case, apparently I didn't put it in the doc, but I think, we don't like to do best and worst case for injury's sake, but the only way I see this group missing the playoffs is if something happens to Chet again, which, fingers crossed that doesn't happen because he looked pretty fucking good last night, fellas. He's blocking Dame Lillard out there. We saw his matchup with Wemby. That was exciting. Chet Holmgren looks pretty good.
They were going at each other a little bit too, which is very exciting about it.
I haven't really seen.
I think Chet mentioned after, or I think it was Chet that mentioned after, like if all goes well, we're going to be doing this every year, for the rest of our careers. And that it's
so awesome, man.
It would be crazy if they are.
I'm so like that, for that, dude.
Yeah.
I'm so for that.
Because they both got some shit to them too. Like you could even tell in the preseason, like that they were going after each other a little bit. Like it's not going to.
Oh yeah.
Those are two.
Remember last year, Chet's actual rookie year before it got cut short to injury, but like he was saying it'd be stupid to believe that I'm not the best player in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's one of those guys who tells himself he's the best all the time.
Oh yeah.
Wemby had the world tell him he's the best. So yeah, their matchup should be fun for years to come.
And the way Chet's personality is, the way you say it, Donnie. Chet's been hearing all the Wemby hype for the whole year he's been hurt. The whole year he's been out. That's all he's heard. Wemby. And the year before, it was people hyping up Chet like that. Maybe not to the extent, but now no one's talking about Chet. Yeah, that's why I think it's great for him.
Yeah,
best case for me.
Chet was like, I'm the 7-footer you guys loved.
Exactly. Exactly, and I think that's good for the Thunder. I think that's good, where Chet can play with a chip on his shoulder, but not any of the pressure because all of the eyes are on Wemby. Best case, this team goes to the NBA Finals. They find a way. They're a nightmare matchup for one of the top two teams in the Western Conference, and they can go to the NBA Finals. Worst case, I don't want to put injuries into this. If this team stays healthy, I think worst case, this is a second round team. I really do. I think they win their first playoff series no matter what if this team stays healthy. I really love the Thunder this year.
Let's go. I love
I'm with it.
I love it, man. The Thunder, the basketball's better when the Thunder are good.
Hell yeah.
And I stand by that.
That arena will be buzzing this year if they start playing the way.
Oh,
Oh, man.
good.
That's why we need the KD Suns in there for
You're right.
I mean, oh my gosh.
All right, we got 2 more teams in this division, and then we have the Southeast that we'll try to run through for y'all. I mean, Southeast is pretty underwhelming for the most part, so it shouldn't be too hard. But let's round out the Northwest, and we have the Utah Jazz over under 35.5 wins. I don't know really where to be on this line. This is a strange line for me. I think I'm going to take the under. I just don't really know about this group. This is a group who I think could blow it up at any time just because of the making of their roster. Danny Ainge being the general manager there. And then just, they were pretty like just a meh team last year. Like they started out hot and everyone was like, who the fuck is this Utah Jazz team? And then they were like, oh, this is exactly who we thought the Utah Jazz were. Just very average. So I have no idea what to think. I'm taking under just because I think more likely than anything else, they blow it up and try to go after a guy or a pick for next year. I like the under here. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm taking the under kind of for the second point you said, Donnie, where it's like last year they started off hot, but then they kind of like fizzled out. And it's because I don't think the Utah Jazz want to be good. You know what I mean? Not the players, but I'm saying front office. I don't think they want the Jazz to be good right now. I think this is still a project and they're trying to figure out, pieces of it. So you're right. I think at any point in time, they could trade anyone. No one's untouchable. Anyone can be traded. They could blow it all up. I don't think the Jazz really want to be good. I'll take the under.
Yeah, I think Danny's blowing it up. And my number one Loki to be traded is Lauri Markkanen, and I feel like they got to cash out. That's the thing about these guys. Like you got to cash out high on these guys, get your value, and do your rebuild like you want. He's got all these assets. Like it's either going to be he either is going to trade all of them and try to build a contender out of nothing, or just build a young team through the draft in the next couple of years. And I feel like Danny's he loves to do that. He loves to have all these picks and do that. This is his favorite thing. So
he's been itching, man. He's been itching to pull off a huge.
I'm impressed that he didn't do it last year. That he didn't have he had the avoided the temptation and held off on blowing it up. But I don't think he can hold off this.
No.
And Lauri Markkanen and like guys like that, like the couple of the guys on this team will be able to help a contender right away. Like they could really help a lot of contenders, some of the guys on this team. So they'll be able to get some good pieces. Sexton, definitely.
Lauri Markkanen was like one of the best surprises, I think, from last year, where I did not expect him to play the way he did. And I think you're right. The perfect time to trade him, right, is when he's playing like that.
Exactly.
So, Lauri, I think Lauri could be MVP and most likely to be traded, right? Is that crazy?
Yeah, that's what Jake had for his too.
Yeah. It just makes sense because if you don't want to be great, trade your best player. That isn't probably a long-term solution. But I'll tell you what, Lauri was fun last year to watch. And I never thought I'd say that in my life, that I enjoyed watching Lauri Markkanen play. But he was one of those guys. The Jazz are always playing at that weird like solo spot, 9 p.m. when the other games aren't tipping until 10. The 7 o'clock, 7:30 games are ending. And you're just watching Lauri. He's got 26 points in the first half. You're like, all right, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's like in his bag. So, yeah.
Yeah, he people forget he was the most improved player last year. Lauri Markkanen.
Well deserved.
Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, my most likely to be traded was just in the nicest way possible, anyone, and then emphasis on picks because I think we all think Danny's up to the same thing here. So Lauri Markkanen hopefully will be fun to watch. Best and worst case is tough for a team like this. I said best case, they make Utah basketball fun again. And I think that's about as much as you can hope for if you're a Utah fan, or at least realistically hope for. And then worst case is that everyone disappoints. Lauri drops off from the crazy surge he had last year, and then everyone's as mediocre as they already are on this team. Not to be depressing, because I think Utah's in a good spot here. It's just
this group of guys and then Danny being the wild card sitting in the chair at the top of everything is just very hard to evaluate for me.
Yeah, mine best and worst case I'll realize on when I said the MVP most likely to be traded is Laurie. Best case is he plays so well. You're forced to even do we keep him? Do we even want to trade this guy? Or you're we get a king's ransom for him. And worst case is we see Chicago Laurie. We see Cleveland Laurie.
Yeah.
We don't
exactly.
We don't see Utah Laurie. It's a 1 year wonder. Similar, maybe not in the same scope, but similar to kind of Julius Randle's blow up here, right? Where it was this guy he's just gonna keep trending upwards, superstar. And then we saw kind of the inconsistencies. Didn't see the same type of player. There wasn't any rhyme or reason. It was just he just had that 1 year.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be interesting for Utah. We'll see though. Lastly, Portland Trailblazers. This was actually the easiest one for me to decide for over under. I'm smashing the over at 28.5 wins for this group. I believe that Anthony Simons is a guy who I've just been drawn to. I think his game is awesome. He's such a fun guy to watch. You bring in Scoot Henderson, who I think we all have pretty high hopes for. I think he's going to be great. And then I just love that they were able to bring in Brogdon and Rob Williams, not to mention DeAndre Ayton. I think it's underrated how well their bigs could play, whether it's alongside one another or if you want to start a game with Ayton and then the other team has to figure out how to deal with Rob Williams, who is very different, even though similar in size to Ayton. I just really like this group. I think 30 wins should be an easy mark to hit. I think we talk about how good the Western Conference is. I don't think it's good throughout. I think they're pretty top heavy, actually. I think both conferences kind of are. So if you have Vegas setting a line like this for a team who I think is going to be one of the better bad teams, if not a surprise playoff team, or not playoff, play-in team in the Portland Trailblazers. This is an easy over for me, 28.5 wins.
It's not as easy for me. I'm going to take a slight over here. The biggest reason for me, Dunny, is I just feel like that, two of the guys that rely on are super young, Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson. And sometimes that makes it a fun team, but you might not be, that consistent team you want to see. I like Anthony Simons. And we have seen him play well when Dame's been out and Anthony is kind of taken over, but let's see him do it for a full year without having Dame there at all. And Rob Will and DeAndre Ayton, it's one of those, maybe not similar in the Cleveland Cavaliers instance because Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are always usually going to start for them. But it's kind of let's see how this team plays at the end of games. Let's see what their end lineup is. Let's see what they roll out with. I'm going to go slight over. But I think this is a low 30s win team, 30, 31 wins. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they're a fun team. I think we're going to see a lot of exciting plays. But I think Portland is one of those teams where there's going to be stretches where they lose eight straight games. And it's just because they're just cold shooting for these couple week stretches. Or, maybe there's an injury to one of the bigs and it's not really fitting right now. I can't wait to watch Scoot, though. I really can. Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe on the same court, man, they are going to put up some plays, dude. It's going to be some street ball type plays with those two. But fun team, slide over, but I don't really think they're going to make any noise.
From what I've seen, the highlights and stuff from Scoot, I'm very excited to watch this guy get going. Just to see how he kind of looks on a game-to-game basis and everything. I have an under 2. I think this is record-wise, this is going to be one of the worst teams in the league, but I think they're going to just have so many fun flashes and just really excited. I don't love Ayton and Robert Williams together at all. I feel like one of those guys is going to get traded by January. I don't know which one. Maybe it's a Dark Knight situation where they're going to fight with pool sticks and we'll see who comes out of it. Who gets to stay in Portland. That's what it feels like. I feel like
it would probably be Rob if it was going to be one of them.
Well, and that's the thing is you can maximize Ayton and get a better trade package for him and use him as an asset. We just want, but this is a former number 1 pick. And if you don't want to, and if, who knows what it could turn into. Ayton, another guy, both those guys, Ayton and Williams would obviously be a huge boost to a contender and could bring back some good assets that you could use in this year's draft and going forward and everything else. So I don't know if this Blazers team looks the same by the trade deadline because they have some pieces that can move, but I'm really excited about their future if they do it right. So, but yeah, give me the slight under.
All right, me and Steve both took the over. It seems like I have the most confidence in the Trailblazers here. Yeah. I didn't. To be clear, I don't think it's going to be like a crazy. I did say potential play-in team, and that's if they play way over expectations. I don't think it's going to be a crazy over 30 win team, but I just think 28.5 super low. I think
that's right.
I think there's teams in the Western Conference that are going to be a lot worse than this group. I think the core and the nucleus of this team is letting me be a little more confident, especially after the Drew Holiday trade. I think they really made out well there and sets us up for this. I think it did give them some leeway and some options to make trades at the deadline if they want to.
Yeah.
Jake, every time I put in mine, I feel like I'm dead set on it. And then I read yours and I feel like your trade, you're most likely to be traded is always better. I really like yours. Go ahead and tell us why it's Jeremy Grant.
He's just some contender can convince themselves that Jeremy Grant is the answer. Somebody's gonna they're gonna be like, if we just add Jeremy Grant, and they might be right. If he's like the fourth,
he looked pretty damn good
team,
last year.
He did.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So I like him as to actually help a contender later on this year. And he's just again, the guy that you want to cash out on. He looked good last year. If he starts out and he's averaging 20 points a game and getting 9 rebounds or 8 rebounds or something like that, the Lakers, somebody is going to call him, the Lakers, the Clippers, one of these teams that is looking to add and can add a decent slot will try to add him. But you had a good one too. I think that's what the thing about this team, there's a lot of pieces that you can see get moved and they would be a decent package. The Blazers are going to be the trade deadline team. They are ripe to get picked up. We're going to hear about them as rumors with everybody by the time we get to that. So I think there's a lot of good choices, but Grant just feels like a piece that we're gonna see in the playoffs helping a contending team this year.
Yeah, makes sense. Steve, you got any names?
I think Grant is probably the most obvious choice. I like how Micah put it that way, and I mean, maybe Simons, right? Maybe Anthony Simons. Maybe Scoot plays to the point where
I looked at Simons too.
It's just not going to work with him. And Simons is, you talk about a team want to take Grant for a playoff run. Simons is that guy because he can score. He can go lights out shooting and score in bunches at any moment in time. So Simons would be one to keep an eye on, especially if this team starts off struggling record wise. But we're seeing, there's a future here, especially with Scoot Henderson. Because at the end of the day, I don't think they can keep both long term.
Or Sharp, one Sharp or Simons has to go at some point.
But I think they would rather keep Sharp.
That's what I think too.
Simons,
So
they want to.
That's going to be the interesting thing is to see how quickly Scoot takes over everything. You know what I mean? Because then we're going to see how does Simons, how does he deal with that? Giving it up to Scoot and everything else. This team's going to be – I'm very excited to watch this team, on late League Pass nights. I think they're going to be a really interesting team throughout the whole year.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for the Blazers. Real quick, my most likely to be traded is Brogdon, and my school of thought there is just point guard that can help any contender scoring and defensively. I see it as, Jamal Murray's banged up again or Kyle Lowry gets hurt for the Heat. And one of those contending teams, they're like, we need a guard, or even a reunion to Milwaukee if Dame can't stay healthy.
Yeah. No, that's why I picked Grant because I would have picked Brogdon. He feels like the guy that the second he can get traded, once his however much time he has to not wait because he got traded in the summer.
Yeah.
That he's gonna get moved almost instantly. He feels like a guy that's gonna want to be playing for a contender. This is the 6th man of the year from that. He's not going to go play 4th guard or 3rd guard for this Blazers team. So yeah, I love that. I think maybe he ends back in Boston. Who knows? I could see that even happening.
Brad,
I feel like
Brad would figure out how to make that happen somehow. But yeah, so that's Portland. I think when we talk about the over under the wins, we kind of touched on every best and worst case.
Yeah.
I think possible play in. You guys are a little less on them. Worst case, Scoot's a bust. I don't believe that, but
Nah.
that's the worst case in my eyes. Is that
Yeah.
Anthony Simons and Scoot don't work out like Steve said,
Yeah.
something along those lines. All right, let's move to the Eastern Conference.
No, Southeast. Oh boy.
The Southeast,
Electric.
probably the most boring conference, or the most boring division, excuse me. And
Forever too. Like it's not like it's new. It's just always been the most boring.
Are the Wizards the least exciting team in all 4 major sports? And I'm not saying like
I'd say the
worst
Hornets
team.
in the same division.
Well, the Hornets are bad. Like the Wizards are just the Wizards.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
you don't
because
like
the
Hornets
at least have some drama.
Boring. Yeah, the Wizards never have anything like crazy happen. There's never any crazy excitement. They're never competing, but they're never like, oh, this is a potential getting the first pick. They're just the Wizards. What's the biggest news line like story of the Wizards the past 10 years? That they might get KD?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't argue with this.
I
Theo
thought
being the scoring leader. For the last time the Wizards were cool.
I thought of it like the other 4 nights. I'm like, there's some players I like on the Wizards, but just no one cares.
John Wall's cool.
Yeah, sure. Cool. Like I don't know. Like I look at the Wizards.
I loved Gilbert Arenas.
I did love Gilbert Arenas, but now we're going way back. We're going way back, my God.
In NBA Live 06, every Cavs season I started, I traded for Gilbert Arenas and paired him with LeBron. That's what I needed to do. So there's a lot of deep respect. That's it, though. When it comes down to video games, it's tough,
Yeah, we might as well just start with the Wizards now that we've been talking about them. But I will say, to give them some respect, those John Wall, Beal, Otto Porter, and Gortat teams with Markieff Morris at the 4, that team gave the Celtics some battles in the playoffs for a couple of years. So that was probably the last time they were like relevant. But that was like 2015, 2016.
And they still lost, didn't they?
Yeah. John Wall jumped up on the scores table and then lost the series.
Was that the Kelly Olynyk game 7?
Yeah, Oubre Olynyk went at it that series, and then Olynyk ended up going off at the end.
That's tough when you're known to losing to Kelly Olynyk in the series.
Yeah,
that's tough when that's your team.
That was probably the last time they were notable. This when they were getting beat by Kelly Olynyk.
Yep.
All right, now let's start with the Wizards. Over under on the win total is even lower than the Trailblazers. I'm not too excited to take the over on this one. It's 24.5. Oh, I'm like tempted to just because how low it actually is. I think I'm gonna take slight over here. I don't like it at all. It feels real gross. And it's kind of tied in with my team MVP, but what do you guys think for the over under 24.5 for the Wizards?
It's so low. I think they want you to take the over, so I'm just gonna take the under. I said they've been the most boring team, and it would make perfect sense for this Wizards team to find their way to like 31 wins and just be like one of those not gonna get a top guy, but they're not sniffing the playoffs. Not a good team. I'm just going to take the under. I look at this team, Donnie. First off, like their front court is terrible. They got some exciting players in the backcourt. I really like, I think this is going to be fun to see Jordan Poole as the guy. I don't believe Kuzma is going to be the guy. I think Jordan Poole is going to come there, and it's going to go through Jordan Poole. And I'm excited to see Jordan Poole take 25 shots a night. I'm excited to see Corey Kispert shoot 12 threes a night. That's the most exciting thing, I think. The front court, I got nothing for the Wizards. Like nothing really excites me. I think this is another team too where a lot of guys can get traded. Maybe here's a name that not a lot of people care about, but Deni Avdija actually was coming around a little bit at the end of last year. Could be a guy who is sneaky decent. Deni Avdija, maybe one of those guys, but I don't know. I'll just take the under. I mean, this is I think top to bottom when every team's healthy and staying out of trouble. I think this is probably the worst roster in the NBA. So I'm going to go under.
I got nothing more to add. I'm taking the under. I think you said it exactly at the beginning. They're begging you to take the over, and I just refuse.
I'm not
going to win more games than they are expecting.
Exactly.
I got
Jordan
Poole
is their best player
immediately.
If Jordan Poole is their best player, they are not winning 25 basketball games in the National Basketball Association. That's what I'm worried about.
Bro, their big men are scary bad. Like scary bad.
It's real bad, man.
Gallinari,
I'm never gonna watch.
Gallinari might be their best big.
Even when the Cavs play them, I'm just not gonna watch that game. I don't care if the Cavs lose. I'm just like,
this is where Landry Shamet. This is where Landry Shamet ended up.
Daniel Gafford's gonna have to play like 40 minutes a night. That's
a great 2K rebuild team, the Washington Wizards, like the ultimate rebuild project.
Well, yeah, if you want to challenge yourself,
that's what I mean.
If you want to challenge,
put a lot of time into the game.
You know what? I challenge.
If you want a contender in 7 years,
I challenge anyone. Do my team with the Wizards. Turn the trade sliders to the max difficulty, and good luck.
10 years.
Like 38-year-old Taj Gibson might be getting notable minutes for this team.
Oh my God, you're not wrong.
Taj Gibson, how is he still playing basketball? And he's gonna.
Yeah, we're gonna see a fourth quarter lineup with Taj Gibson and Danilo Gallinari, and
with Jordan Poole iso ball.
What is this team doing?
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of have gone over a little bit of everything. Most likely to be traded. Me and Jake both had Kuzma. I mean, they could literally be anyone. I think they'll probably be making deals all year long.
Kuz is a Laker, right? Like that's gonna happen. I feel
anyone can get traded. Well, you think Kuz coming back?
Yeah, I think so. Kuz for D'Lo straight up at the deadline.
I don't need to see Kuz's outfits that he's wearing for the Lakers anymore. I don't want him to go anywhere.
They would get out of control if he was in LA again.
He's like open.
He's got money this time around.
He openly still loves the Lakers. Like he's always tweeting about LeBron, tweeting about the Lakers.
Oh, he misses LeBron so much.
Bron's size, he really does. He sees Reeves and is like, that should be me.
Yeah, he's to bring up the Squidward meme again on this show. He's Squidward. LeBron and Austin Reeves are playing outside. But yeah, I mean, I feel bad with this Wizard segment. It's just been us laughing at them and laughing at me, I guess, for deciding to take this over.
Hey, that's better than being irrelevant.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true. We made the Wizards a little more relevant with this segment.
I am gonna rebuild with them in 2K. That's what it decided me to do. I'm the ultimate Wizards project and see what happens.
I will say I'll be placing some bets on Jordan Poole's props throughout the season. I tend to think he's a player who actually plays well off the fuck you energy. And I think he should have that, man. Just go out. Like, there's literally no reason to not go out and do what you were trying to do every night in Golden State. But this time around, you have the longest leash ever because everyone else on your team sucks.
Yeah, so he's going to shoot 30 times a night.
I was going to say, I'm very excited to see Jordan Poole stat lines every night. Be like, wait, he went 7 for 28 tonight or whatever.
I feel like Washington fans could maybe eat this up. Like, like we know we suck. Let's see this guy just shoot from half court all the time.
And until the books adjust, Denny at VHA PRA over. Until the books adjust, it's one of those bets I'm taking. Until the books adjust, Denny at VHA PRA over. He's going to be like that sneaky, like, he had 14, 8, and 9, and they lost by 36.
It's also crazy that Johnny Davis was on this team. Like, he was a pretty fun guy to watch at Wisconsin. And went to Washington, boring.
That's what I'm saying. You go to Washington, you disappear. That's why I love Bradley Beal this year.
He's probably going to
go nuts. It really is.
I forgot he was there, bro, to be honest with you. That's
NBA Siberia. You just go there and you disappear and they spit you out 3 years later.
That's what I'm saying. All 4 sports, try to find a team more relevant than the Wizards in the past 10 years. You can't do it.
It's hard, man. They're really... Who would it be? The Oakland A's, maybe? Like that's.
But the A's are so bad.
People like talk about the A's.
I was gonna say Cleveland Browns, but like they had the whole.
No, everybody loves
their defense is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an NFL team I would consider. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the Wizards. They're the most apathetic sports franchise. People are just like,
maybe the Coyotes. Arizona.
Yeah, they
maybe
can't even get housed. So
that's what I'm saying. Like maybe that might be it, dude.
All right, that was our
Great.
shit on the Washington Wizards segment.
That's okay. They deserve it.
For you guys in the dock, we'll go from the bottom up. We'll go next here to the Orlando Magic. Their over-under for wins is 37.5. I actually like this over as well. The Magic, and it's been solely because of the preseason. I love Paolo Banchero, man. He's so good. Rookie of the year last year. And yeah, 37.5. I think this is a really good line for the Magic. It was actually tough. I kind of just decided right now that I would take the over, but I think I would.
I'm taking it. They're a playoff team. I'm putting it in there. I want to believe.
I want to take it. I'm gonna take a slight under. I think we're still.
I know.
Smart, I think we're still one year away. Banchero. I mean, and this is crazy because it felt like he got slept on for how good of a rookie season he had. Probably the best statistical rookie season since LeBron James's rookie year.
Yes.
And no one cared, it felt like.
He looked like a 7-year vet this first game. He just showed up and was like an adult. And like,
well, that was the thing. It was like, right, I had Ben Mathurin. I was like, oh, Ben Mathurin be sneaky rookie of the year. I watched the first game Banchero. I'm like, all right, Mathurin might come second. Banchero has this locked up. And I don't, I didn't want to take the favorite, but like you were right. He was the most pro ready. That's why the Magic took him one, because it looked like he was a vet. And I think that can help accelerate this team's rebuild, but I still think they're a little bit away. I didn't love their draft this year. I didn't really love their draft. Jet Howard, I don't know how the fit is there.
It's a weird pick.
And Anthony Black just feels like a Markelle Fultz to me. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I thought he was coming out of college. So I didn't really love the fit of the players they took. But I like a lot of guys on this team. I like Wendell Carter. I like the Wagners.
Me too.
I think it's a pretty solid team. I'm not way under here, but 37.5. I think they're like 35, 36. And that might be good enough to make the playoffs in the East. It's still, might make the playoffs in the East with 36 wins.
In the East, you're really asking them to be better than right now this Washington team we were just talking about. Charlotte we were just talking about. Or we're going to talk about. Probably like the Pistons are a team that we have to talk about. The Bulls. The Bulls, they should be better than
close,
the Bulls. Yeah. So, like, they are in, like, that play-in 10-11 range if things go right. But that is going to sit – like, this line is perfect for them. I think that they're, like – it's 34.5.
It's such a good line.
Like, it could be, like – they could be, like, 37 and 45 or whatever. Like, it's going to be really, really close.
And that's good enough to probably make the play-in in the East.
Yeah.
So I think the number is basically the book's telling you we think this is probably a play-in team, which I think is fair.
Yeah, so we all got Paolo for team MVP.
Yep.
I can't wait to watch Paolo.
Most likely to be traded, I had Suggs.
Don't do it.
It's Cole. It's Cole, I feel like, instead of Suggs. Well,
I think the thing for me is like no
one wants him.
They just don't seem to take a liking to Suggs. I feel like since he's been there.
Yeah.
And I think especially since Paolo's come in, like he's the shiny new toy now. Yep. The Wagner brothers have kind of taken the spotlight from him as well. They both outplay him when they're out there. And then they have this weird rotation of Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz. They brought in Gary Harris. They have a guy like they gave a chance to a guy like Mac McClung, who
it's true.
Jalen Suggs has been Mac McClung in his NBA career so far. I know that sounds disrespectful, but like
is Fultz
they drafted two guards. They drafted Jet Howard and Anthony Black. Like, how many guards are you gonna play?
Yeah.
Is Fultz
it's crazy because they have a bunch of size too.
Well, they love to play big. That's the thing, Dunny, right? We've seen this team play big before. Obviously, they don't have Bobo anymore. So they can't really play everyone's dream 2K lineup. No Mo Bamba either, so they can't play that dream 2K lineup. But they're still going to play big. They'll play both Wagners. They'll play Paolo, and they'll play Wendell Carter at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jake, to answer your question, I think they do think Fultz is the guy, or at least their guy for now.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I feel like he's like untouchable for like he is like set in that starting line. He started pretty much the whole last year. Like they feel like he still is getting better the whole time. And that's why it's like maybe they just threw all these guys together, or like we'll see who comes out and then we'll get rid of the other guys, and who knows where that's going to end up. It was a weird draft. It's a weird build. I just don't want to. I was so excited for Suggs to come into this team, and it's so like I thought he would be a guy that would also be ready to step into the NBA.
Yep.
And I also just don't think Cole Anthony's that good. So I feel like maybe that's why they can't trade him. Maybe they've tried to trade him, but there's got to be. Maybe they don't like either of those guys, and that's why they bring in 2 guys in the draft too.
Yeah,
because maybe it's something that they've seen more than we have. But it's a weird looking team right now.
Yeah. I'd have Cole Anthony as well.
I love that Joe Ingles is on this squad.
Yeah, Joe Ingles. Right?
Hell yeah. He just wanted to get that Florida money. He was like, let me keep some of this bread.
A name we haven't mentioned because this poor guy can't stay healthy. I don't know how he's 26, Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy.
I don't know how he's 26. I feel like he's 35 at this point because
Yeah.
it's just like we don't see him. He just can't stay healthy, but he's someone too. I mean, I hate saying it, but at some point the Magic are going to trade this guy as like not as the piece, but as a throw-in somewhere where it's like, you've seen flashes of it, so he's another name too.
Yeah, it's a good point. Best and worst case, again, we've kind of already touched on how far they'll go.
Do you think they could win a playoff series?
Depending who they played, but no.
No,
I don't think they could win a series. I think they could reach there this year, but I don't think they could win a series. I'm just trying to think of like even like the lower teams. Like I don't know if we see a similar Chicago. I don't know if they beat a Chicago. I don't think they beat an Indiana. Those like lower teams in the East. I don't see it happening.
Let's say, and I know we hit the under, so we don't expect this team to get there. But let's say Toronto makes the playoffs. Somehow Toronto, like they keep their core together. They playoffs. Who do you have in the series, Orlando or Toronto?
Yeah, I guess I would take Orlando in that case.
Okay.
But yeah, like we said, I don't consider them making the playoffs. But if they did, because Pascal is still that dude. My guy Scotty Barnes is still there. Jake's guy OG is still there.
Yeah,
we don't know about the new coaching. I don't know. If they do make it there, I trust the Magic's team a little bit more. You guys have any outrageous best and worst case?
No, I think best case is a play-in team. That's and worst case. What's worst case for this? Because worst case is what? You still have Banchero. You still have a young team. You still have a core.
Their worst case is they're going to have Paolo and Franz still. And they'll be that. Like, if you have that, you're pretty set. Like, those two guys are not going anywhere. And there's a lot of teams in the league that would love to start fresh with those two. And that's basically, they could decide, maybe that's why they accumulate all these assets, is because they know they could just be another team like Portland who gets rid of everybody that they don't want and keeps their 2 cornerstones, has all these picks, has all this free agent flexibility. Orlando is like, there's been so many, I've seen so many articles and discussions about how Orlando, if they wanted to just spend money, could really be a free agent destination. Like, they're in Florida, it's family friendly, like it's the no state tax, everything else. And so maybe that's what their idea is. They want to keep the sheets clean, get rid of everybody, and go big at a free agent class at these next couple of years. Who knows? But this doesn't feel like the year for them. But they'll be fun.
Yeah.
And they're annoying as fuck to play against. I think you Celtics have had some battles with the Magic.
Dude, that's what I was like, okay, yeah, Paulo's the real deal. When he was like shoving Tatum and Brown off the block last year when he was scoring. It's like, holy shit. This guy is league ready was an understatement for Paulo last year. But yeah, Magic are fun. They could be legit. Probably a move away from being a legit playoff team. So we'll see with Orlando. Staying in Florida, the Miami Heat. Over under for wins 45.5. I'm taking the under here. I liked all the small over unders, I guess. I know I'm going completely back. I've gone back and forth 3 times this offseason. I'm doing it, dude. I'm calling it. They're done. They're done this year.
No, Duddy. You don't doubt. You've how many years have you doubted the Heat? We have learned our lesson so many times. You don't doubt the Heat until they actually do it themselves. I'll just go down with the ship at this point. I'm going down with the ship. The Miami Heat have just figured out how to just be consistently good at basketball year after year after year after year after year. It does not matter. It doesn't matter all the questions. It doesn't matter the slow starts. It does not matter the aging. Just give me the over until something happens. I don't care. I'll go down with it. I don't care. You could put the line at 79.5. I'd be like, I can't take the under on the Heat. I refuse. I refuse to get burned by the Heat again. Just give me the Heat, man.
I have my biggest thing for why, because I'm with you every step of the way. I don't think I should doubt them. But something this offseason, they seem more confident this offseason, and this is the worst offseason they've had in years, it feels like. I feel like the confidence is through the roof for some reason, and they undoubtedly got worse on paper. Just from the guys they let walk, the very minimal pieces they brought in. Jimmy's a year older. Kyle Lowry, if we're ragging on old point guards earlier with Mike Conley, Kyle Lowry is up there. I think he's 37. And I don't know. I don't see it, man. I'm taking the under, and I'm probably dead wrong, but I'm just gonna do it.
Jake, you see what Dunny did wrong there? He tried to actually break this down. He tried to look into the team. You just look. You see it's Miami Heat. You take the over, and you go, okay, next question. I'm done doubting him. I'm done.
I was reading through Dunny's answers, going through this doc. I was like, I love what you're going for here, but I can't join along.
Nope, can't do it. I refuse. I won't do it, Dunny. You can go down by yourself. I'm tired of.
This is going to be. If this actually pans out,
they're going to be the 3 seed. They're going to be 52 and 28 or whatever that record would be, and they're going to play your Celtics in the second round, and it's going to go 7 games.
It's going to be a hell series again, brother. Strap in.
That's the destiny of this Miami Heat team.
I know this is either going to be amazing for me or real bad.
Yeah, we're gonna get to a month until the end of the regular season, and Dunny's gonna be like, shit, we're lined up to play the Heat. It's all working out right there that way.
I'm almost at the point with the Heat, guys. Here's the thing. This is what's crazy for my Heat season preview is that I've faded Tyler Hero so much in my life that now I've come back around, and I think he's gonna have a really good year this year because he kind of almost has to.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, they're fucking screwed. And Jimmy and Bam, maybe he's just their guy, but they have believed that it's gonna happen for him. This whole organization they have a lot of belief in Tyler Hero, clearly.
Yeah.
And eventually he's gonna have to take over that scoring load unless Bam is the guy who does it. And maybe Bam can be that guy. I don't know if there's another level for Bam. I have him as my MVP of this team, though, because I think if they are going to be really good, I think he has to be second team All NBA center behind Jokic. And I think he can do that. I think he can, but it's he hasn't put that all together for a full season to that level of consistency.
I don't want to compare him to who we talked about earlier with Karl Anthony Towns.
Dude, I knew you were going to say that.
Similar, right?
Oh, no.
We see it, but it's just not there consistently enough. Maybe not. And Towns is a little more, I think, a little more wide, and what his ceiling is and what his floor is. Bam's a little more in the middle, but it's we see it, Bam. We see it some nights, and then you just disappear.
Have you guys ever seen How I Met Your Mother, the glass breaking moment? You just did that for Bam Adebayo. My blind spot for Bam has been
it's gone.
It's gone. He's Karl Anthony Towns.
It's actually funny because I had the same thought Steve did, but then I felt crazy bringing it up after you compared him to Jokic.
Yeah, that's why.
So we're somewhere between Karl Anthony Towns and Jokic. But the way I was going to preface it, comparing him to Cat, is, and I think Steve would agree with me, he's a far better player than Cat, I think, especially just the defense
overall,
gets him there alone above Cat.
What is up with these Kentucky fucks, bro? It's about Randall, Towns, Adebayo, and they're all the same.
You're not wrong.
The same shit.
Yeah, it's a good point, man.
And then look at the Kentucky guards. Murray, Shea Gilgeous, De'Aaron Fox. The opposite. What are the guards doing? Guards are playing above their head. The big men don't know what they're doing.
Coach guards. The forwards, he's just hey, go get these post moves in, bro.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy, man.
Oh, man.
All the comparison I was trying to draw is just that, and Bam's is higher in every level, right? Because we expect more from Bam. He's on a better team.
Yeah.
So maybe it seems like that a little more than Cat, but Cat is we talked about. We're just waiting for him. We know the raw talent's there. Yeah. Same with Bam, but Bam, it's different because we're just help Jimmy. He needs help in a game. You need to give him 25 points in one game in one series. Like
Shoot
you need
the
to
ball.
take over a couple games in order for them to get to that next level. And that's where he's similar to Cat. Obviously, all of us and most NBA fans out there would prefer Bam on your team over Cat, but
for the
it's
defense,
just
I think,
the
right?
waiting for it to happen part is where they're comparable. Yeah, who do you have, Steve? Bam or Jimmy for the team MVP?
Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler. I mean, it's
Jimmy. I get what Jake's saying about Bam, though. It's kind of like I think you said the same thing with Davis in LA. It's like if they want to be that team, he's got to be that second guy.
Eventually, you can't trust 35-year-olds to lead your team, and I know it's a new NBA, but like at some point, it's got to flip over for the team. At least best case scenario.
But Jake, this is the thing. Like I said, I'm going to go down with the ship on the Miami Heat. Same goes for Jimmy Butler. I'm not doubting Jimmy Butler anymore.
Fair.
He can have a slow start to the regular season, then look what happens. It's just I'm not doubting this guy anymore until I'll just go down with the ship. Jimmy Butler and the Heat will sink together.
Yeah, I'm with that. This best case scenario for me is they go to the NBA Finals. I think that's I can't put anything else.
Agree.
Worst case, I don't even know. They're making the playoffs no matter what. The East is not good enough for this team to not make the playoffs. Donnie's gonna find a way. Well, guys, this team, if they get old, aging point guard, things go wrong.
I was going to say,
have it.
even my worst case for them is a first round exit, because let's not forget they were an 8 seed last year, and I know they were the 8 seed that made it to the finals. If they're an 8 seed this year, they're not losing to Milwaukee if they see them in the first round again. I'm sorry.
You mean not beating Milwaukee?
Yes, they're not. They're not. They are losing to
Milwaukee. No way Milwaukee allows that to happen again.
Yeah,
but I don't think they'll be an 8 seed. They started. You guys remember how cold they started?
Yeah, it was like the Lakers.
Oh, yeah.
It was terrible. Yeah. I also think too. Like I think there's too many bad teams in the East for the Heat to have that low of a seed or miss the playoffs. Yeah. I think they're going to be like, even if they don't play that great in the regular season, like a 4 or 5, 6 seed.
Yeah,
and they're not going to.
I think I put
Milwaukee
6 seed
or Boston
in the doc.
Yeah, they're not going to face a Milwaukee or Boston until the second round. That's basically what I'm saying. So worst case would be second round for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, that's the Miami Heat. We got 2 more games.
We got the 2 worst.
Or 2 more. More teams. Well, we won't start with that. With the worst of the worst, or we will start with the worst of the worst, so we don't have to end on them. The Charlotte Hornets, they're under 31.5 wins. We're all under. That's easy.
Under 20, alternate line.
Team MVP, LaMelo, because he's like the last good talent there. And I shouldn't say that. I love Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward, but they're on the wrong side of this team, and
they need it. They free those guys. That's what I got them in most likely to be traded because please free.
Jake has it correctly. Rozier, Hayward, it would make sense. Although Hayward, it's going to be tough to move with that giant.
I want Terry Rozier on the Cavs so bad, so bad.
That'd be awesome.
That is my
dream. Terry would definitely be the one because it's like he could help.
I love Rozier so much, man. And he leveled up when he went to Charlotte, and he just no one cares because he's just always playing on League Pass, and no one's able to appreciate it.
Terry needs to be on a contender this year for sure.
I said Bridges. Because hopefully,
I didn't put him because I didn't want him to get traded. Just get him out of the league.
Who's going to want to take him
out of here?
Yeah.
I guess that's a good point. We just want to see him gone. Rozier makes more sense to be actually traded. The Hornets is nice because we can just fly through this.
Fuck these guys.
My best case is they're a playing team, and this is my worst case. Worst case is they are sold entirely for a new city. So they get completely relocated. Forget the expansion team, bro. Just first work on fixing whatever is in Charlotte.
It's so sad because you think North Carolina, you think Duke, North Carolina, like basketball crazy place, and they're saddled with these fucking terrible team that left them, and then they came back, the zombie Hornets, and the zombie teams always seem to be chaos. You got the Browns and the Hornets, who are our 2 big zombie teams right now. It's not good. It hasn't been good since then.
Change the name to the Sonics. Put this team in Seattle. and move on with it. Or give Buffalo a basketball team, man.
Oh,
The Buffalo Hornets.
Don't tempt me, Donnie. Don't do that to me.
I'm with it.
I mean, we need. That's my worst case for them, but that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Like we don't. We don't want the Charlotte Hornets. Let's hear it.
Best case, they win their one nationally televised game of the year against San Antonio.
That's true.
They win one game where people watch them against San Antonio. The only game people care about the Hornets, they win their one. Worst case is those Mr. Beast patches turn into Mr. Beast's new YouTube video buying the Charlotte Hornets and having open tryouts, and they become a meme team.
Mr. Beast is about to become Jackie Moon.
They got Feastables and Beast Burgers in the arena. People are just getting their stomach sicknesses all the time. Hornets are a meme.
He might buy the Hornets. I wouldn't put it past Mr. Beast.
I didn't even think about that. That'd be
why
insane.
not at this point? He'd do it for a YouTube video too. He's like, guys,
he's gonna be.
He's got the clickbait title. I just bought an NBA team.
Yeah.
And it's like covering the arena, and it's just got a bunch of question marks. Who did I buy?
It's just like LaMelo Ball, like
the balls and Mr. Beast though. They bring LeVar in. Oh,
that's hell. That's hell for NBA fans. That is hell scenario for actual NBA fans.
It'd be big baller beast brand instead of just big baller
beast. Big baller beast.
4 B's instead of 3. They gotta have one. No. All right, so under 31.5 for the Hornets, and maybe they're a new team by the end of the season.
Sorry, Charlotte fans.
Yeah, sorry if Hornet fans listen to this. I am terribly sorry, but that's the reality of your situation. Last team here in the Southeast, the Atlanta Hawks, slightly more exciting, but kind of same boat. Over under 42.5 wins. I'm also taking the under here. How about you guys? Jake is signaling under to me. Steve?
Under.
33 win team.
Under. Max. It didn't work. We thought it would be fun. Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, and then we remembered they have to play defense too. Didn't work. Yeah. So under.
Most likely.
You will not find a bigger Trae Young hater than me at this point. This man is not going to lead a
so much team. So that you wouldn't even make him the team MVP. You have DeJounte.
No. I just noticed that. This guy.
I couldn't do it.
If DeJounte wasn't on this team, he'd have DeAndre Hunter. This guy.
I thought about Hunter first. Like, maybe Hunter has his glow up here.
I like DeAndre.
I do too. He's not team MVP.
No.
It's Trae.
Trey is going to get traded, I think. I really don't think it lasts that long.
Yeah, so I actually have him as my team MVP and most likely to be traded because I don't know. What happened last year was just strange. John Collins obviously talked shit about Trae Young as soon as he left. The whole coaching situation, it seems like a lot of players and staff took coaching side and not Trae Young's side in that. And, who knows? Atlanta may be just growing frustrated with their superstar, and they have to be kicking themselves so hard about the Luka thing.
Yeah.
So I think
it was an even trade. It worked out for both teams. What are you talking about? They each got a star.
I think there's a world where he's the team MVP because he's probably going to average 25 plus and 10 plus assists again because that's what Trae Young does. But unfortunately, that doesn't get you to the promised land and doesn't take you deep into the playoffs.
Right.
So I don't know. This Atlanta situation is weird. We expect Trae Young to be Trae Young. We expect probably some more drama. My best and worst case for the Hawks is best case, second round of the playoffs if they make it there. Worst case, they miss the playoffs completely, and it's everything that we just talked about.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think best case is probably Trae Young's a villain in the Garden again. He just breaks the Knicks' hearts again, and it's like Trae Young has his villain arc, but I don't see this team doing anything. Like, I don't see them going anywhere. Trae Young's gonna have his games. He'll have his. Jake's gonna hate it. He'll have his 40-point games. He'll have his games where he's shooting lights out. He'll have his games where he's got like 36 points, 15 assists. But at the end of the day, the Sox team, I'm over him.
I think it comes down to if I were the Hawks, if I was like the GM, this would be the easiest move to do. Just trade Trae at this point. Like I just don't see how it gets better. I don't
Like,
know.
who-
That's the problem. Like, who can give up enough that you think it's worth it to trade him? It would be. I don't know. There is not really a good option. I guess the Nets maybe the Nets would be like. I guess they could use some like a guard there, but I don't know. There's a lot of Miami if they wanted to trade with the Heat. You know, like cool. I don't know, like those types of teams.
Dude, those Jimmy Butler,
San Antonio, Trey and Wemby.
Now we're talking.
That would be fun. That'd be fun, and that would definitely help.
San Antonio's got some good young pieces too. So
yeah, I think they're like that's a team. I feel like is a team that's like has a chance with like another star. That like because that's what Trey needs a guy that he needs to be someone's running mate. If he was Wemby's running mate, that might be perfect. Like that might be the best case scenario, so something like that. I'm not out completely on Trey. I'm out on Trey as franchise cornerstone. I still think he can help a lot of teams.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment of the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young right there. Any final words on either of these divisions, boys, the Northwest or the Southeast?
Nope. We're almost there.
For me, Oklahoma City Thunder. You get the win totals and now. Take it now.
Yep.
Because that thing is hitting. That's all I got.
Yeah, I love that. Take the Thunder's win total. If you're feeling spicy with me, take the Blazers as well.
And the Hornets under.
Yeah, Hornets under. So that'll do it for the Triple H podcast, guys. Like we said, by the time you listen to this, it's going to be 5 days away. 5 days away from the NBA season. We'd love it. Go follow Trainwreck Sports. Follow us everywhere at Happy Hour Hoops 1 for Steve, Jake, and myself.